Hi, this is Edlock with USA Mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, the process can be overwhelming and confusing. With so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. That's why it's important to work with a certified mortgage loan originator. I have the knowledge and expertise to guide you through the process and find the best mortgage option for you. I will work with you every step of the way to ensure that you are getting the best deal possible. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance, please reach out to me at 502 680 0953. So don't take on the stress of buying a home alone. Work with me and I will make your dream a reality. Trust the professionals and make your home buying experience a positive one. MLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, MLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is equal housing opportunity.
You have scoured the podcast world. You have finally found the place where news is weighed in the balance. Welcome to Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry. 2 words and 2 question marks.
Hello, Mr. Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing great and getting better. How about yourself, Steve?
Same.
Good to hear.
Busy, tired, all the above. You know how that goes. Just happy to be here.
Yeah, as long as we're still vertical, that's the big part.
Yeah. My papa always used to say, I woke up on the sunny side of the dirt, so that
There you
makes it
go.
all good.
Absolutely.
So, anywho, how was your week?
It was a very good week. It was a very good week. I do dread seeing the really hot, muggy hot weather. I hate.
Yeah.
I'd even rather have, as much as I dislike the middle of winter and cold weather, I can deal with the cold better than I can the hot. I think I said on air last summer, it's so very true. At least in the cold weather, you can always put some more clothes on, but there's only so much you can take off until you get arrested, So,
Yeah. And I see you every day. I don't want to see you unclothed. Just throwing it out there.
I understand. You don't want to be any more jealous than you already are.
There's a reason I keep my house as cool as I do. I'm hoping you're coming layered. See, that's the thing.
I got you. You do keep this place cold. As you've said ever since I've known you, as long as you can afford it, you're going to have it feeling like you can hang meat in here.
That's right. Absolutely. Winter, summer, doesn't make any difference.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Jerry, there's so much in the news today, and I titled it what I titled it. I know your big story today is the first part of our title. The second one is a menagerie of wonder. There's so much in the news that's just like, huh. Not necessarily any of it that deserves a whole show or even a part of a show, but well, that's not true, but a big part of a show. But there's a lot of headlines that I want to touch on today. It was.
Do you remember when we first started doing this, and for the first several episodes, we had one topic each, and we had to turn that topic into 30 minutes of discussion, and real quickly we were finding it hard to do that. Yeah, if we hadn't switched to this format, I would probably still not be doing this. It was just so hard. I remember spending several evenings, several hours each evening trying to come up with a topic. And, like you said, there's a ton of stuff small that you can easily do 2 to 10 minutes on, but it wasn't big enough to do, my half of the show. So I just remember weeks and weeks going by and feel like, damn, what am I going to find to talk about?
Right. And just being able to touch on headlines occasionally. And if, when a big story happens, it happens.
Sure.
And we cover it. I like the ability to just kind of flow.
Absolutely.
And get, we have very good ability to just have discussion about, we're usually at odds about everything, but that's okay.
But it's more natural and more what you and I have just sat around and talked about for years,
Right.
instead of one topic and we've got to spend 30, 40 minutes each on that topic. Hey, if it's a big one, we'll spend 2 hours. And if it's a small one, we'll spend 2 minutes and get on with the show.
So, if someone wanted to hear us talk about a topic, where would they do that at, Jerry? Where would they let us know that topic?
Well, to suggest a topic?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I thought you were saying, how can they hear us discuss our
well,
show?
Hopefully they're already
Hopefully they've already figured that out.
And
Well,
hopefully they're telling their friends about it.
Absolutely.
There you go.
They have a couple of ways of getting in touch with us. One is email at newsworthywithstephenjerry@gmail.com. They can also text us at area code 540-709-1318.
Yeah, you sure can. We'd like to have you. We want to hear from you. We want to we like to interact with you. There's going to come a time very, very, very soon that what?
You all right?
Yeah, no, I'm good. That we are not going to have a live show soon.
People won't be able to listen to us live.
Yeah,
Our shows won't change.
Yeah, that's kind of a big announcement, and we probably got one today's show. Obviously, maybe one more show before we make their final switch.
Not far away.
We're going to lose that ability and to have a live audience, but we are gaining what we're gaining in the ability to improve our show is exponential. I think it's far outweighs it, and I think that it's going to be good overall for the listenership, and it's going to give us a chance to put out a much better product. And we're going to have the opportunity and the ability finally to hopefully, and we're going to be testing again this week, to have a legitimate and very good way of having guests call in. So,
absolutely, it's the main reason we decided to switch away from Podbean.
Yeah. So hopefully, they all say it's just a couple of clicks and it's all set up and it's ready to go. So we're gonna cross our fingers that they're not lying and BSing us just to get us hooked in there for another year. I will say, I'd already paid for Podbean for the year. That's non-refundable. So
it's non-refundable.
Non-refundable. And that's okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. What I plan on maybe doing is, we had talked about having that other, a different podcast. I might replace this one on Podbean with that because it's a more open live forum. So maybe we'll do that. Huh?
There you go. At least you get something out of it.
Yeah, we're not going to lose the money. Hey, Mochi. Hey, Mochi, you're with us tonight. We appreciate it. We know that Double is not going to be with us tonight. It breaks our heart. But some people decide to go on vacation. And I just wanted to make a mention that we miss you. We hope you're having an amazing time. Anywho.
That was your week. I forgot to ask that.
I know, a week was
busy.
fine. Yeah, it's always busy. I accepted a new position. I've told you about that. So now I'm working 2 full-time jobs and doing a podcast and trying to keep it all together. Kind of as I'm rotating in this new position, real estate has kind of slowed down a little bit. So it's kind of ebbing and flowing just the way I want. Although USA Mortgage and myself is we're starting a new what they call farming campaign very soon. So I know, right? Mochi is 100% correct. We should have all gotten invited to vacation. We were not. Makes me very sad. But we're starting a new farming campaign, so hopefully that will increase business on that end, and we'll get things ramped back up the way I like them. I don't like sitting around too long. I don't know. I'm not an idle person. I can't be idle for very long because I start getting myself into trouble. Anywho.
One thing I forgot to mention about my week. Someone broke into my garage last night and Stole my limbo stick.
Your limbo stick.
I mean,
Oh, my
seriously,
gosh.
how low can you go?
That was good. I'll give you props on that one, Jerry. That was fantastic. Even the
Glad you
delivery.
thought so.
Huh?
I'm glad you thought so.
Yeah, the delivery and
The
everything.
delivery and timing usually makes it. You
Yeah.
know, don't you think?
It does.
That reminds me of another one.
Oh, no. What?
I may have it down here. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is, I don't know about you. I had a tough time originally keeping up with the jokes I'd done and the ones I hadn't. So now I've got a list of probably 100, 150 jokes, and I have to strike through the ones I've done.
Oh, is that right?
I can't keep up with them otherwise.
Well, you know, you while you're doing that, I have been working diligently with some cloning experiments.
Really?
Experiments. Yeah, absolutely I have.
Trying to clone me?
I think they finally paid off.
Okay.
I'm so excited. I'm beside myself.
I actually saw that one the other day.
Oh man. So do you have plans for the 4th of July? Anything new, exciting?
No, gonna have a cookout with the family is about it.
Oh, good. Well, that's always good.
Yes, it is.
So let's get into some topics today, shall we?
We can do that.
Yeah.
I wish I could find that one dad joke. But maybe next time. So you want to lead? Want me to?
No, I don't care. You know, I get these pop-up things all the time. From, I do a lot of my news for Microsoft, much less that you think Facebook or whatever, but they always come back to these stars that have passed, and they always come back 5, 6, 7, 8 months later and give their cause of death. This one I don't think surprises anyone. Aaron Carter died several months ago. He's 34 years old, had struggled with drugs most of his adult life after finding really huge amounts of fame and success as a child. Died officially of huffing, which is basically where you turn a can of air upside down and suck it in. And he had that and Xanax in his system, and he ultimately drowned in the bathtub.
Holy crap.
What a heck of a way to go, right?
Yeah.
Just stupid.
Huffing is air?
It can be air. A lot of people use paint.
That's what I thought.
The
I'd heard
chemical
of paint.
it's
the
not
fumes.
it's the propellant that actually gets them high. It's not what's in it. It's not the other chemicals. It's the propellant. So that's why air can work, because it has a propellant in it. But yeah, I had a buddy that I went to high school with. Man, he got into that real bad for a while. And you could always tell when he had huffed, because it would change his voice. He would go from sounding like this little squeaky dude to this, what are you doing? He's like, oh, and then he got to doing the paint, and you could see finally got off all that stuff. He owns his own business now. He's a good feller. So
does that make you high?
Huffing? Oh
air?
yeah.
Huffing air would make you high.
It's not the air, it's the propellant of the air.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they use a specific, and I'm not sure what it's called. They have the. Would you like for me to try?
No.
I mean, I'll be happy to try to say it. It's diafluorourethane, which is the propellants in cans of compressed air.
Be darned.
And that's what makes people high. You have to turn it upside down. That gets all the air to the bottom, and then the straw or whatever's into that part of it, and that's what you breathe in. So, yep.
Go figure.
I know that only because of my buddy that, like I say, I went to school with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd heard of people huffing. I had heard of paint.
Yeah.
And I assumed that the fumes were some type of, I didn't really know. Now I know a lot more than I did previously.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I don't know. That was just one little thing, but I don't know. Everything's based on algorithms. I get that. If you click on one story, it's going to show you more stories like that. Similar.
Coming on Facebook or a lot of social media places.
Well, this is on a news site even.
Okay.
But I don't know about you, but my feed is inundated with UFO stories everywhere. Britain, Canada, United States, and these aren't people;
mine
these
is
are our
not.
government. Well, that's because you do look at other things, but I bet your sites are full of recipes
Yep.
and
Get a lot of recipes.
No,
I mean, I don't. When I'm browsing news feeds, I don't have anything on recipe related.
Yeah, see, it's weird. So, anywho, what do you want to talk about? Because I got lots of stuff, and it's all little stuff. So I don't want
Um, Last week you brought up the sub that had been missing at that point for
to.
what 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
and as I'm sure everyone knows, they found pieces of the debris, and it turns out that it exploded a couple of hours imploded a couple hours into its original dive. They originally said, I think it's an hour and 45 minutes when they lost communications, an hour and 45 minutes into the dive that it lost communications. And apparently that was when it imploded. And the good news, if there is such a thing in a story like
They
this,
did
is that there
suffer.
was no suffering. There was no running out of air and one guy looking over, 4 or 5 other dead guys and wondering how many more minutes he's got. None of that happened. It was basically instantaneous.
Milliseconds.
Yes, very, very short time period, but still a very sad story. My first article reminds me of that a little bit. There was a Spanish athlete that recently emerged from a cave after spending 500 days alone in the cave for science, voluntarily.
Oh yeah, I did read about this.
A year and a half in near total isolation, some 230 feet underground, Beatriz Flamini emerged from a cave in southern Spain. Her first words, "Who's buying the beer?" I like this woman already. The climber and mountaineer had entered the cave in Grenada on November 21st, 2021, determined to spend 500 days alone, monitored from afar by a group of scientists that was trying to explore the effects that isolation has on the human body and the mind. And they say that she spent her days reading, drawing, exercising, knitting hats. She also was recording herself. She had 2 GoPros. She was 48 years old when she went down, 50 years old when she officially completed the challenge on Friday. I understand that it's through things like this that we make huge strides in our knowledge in many ways, and it certainly helps technology. I get it, and I'm thankful that there's people that's willing to do it. But can you fricking imagine 500 days, a year and a half in a cave underground, 230 feet underground, voluntarily?
Well, I can tell you that it'd be cool down there. So
No pun intended.
I would be okay with that.
Literally cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. And NASA now just yesterday locked 4, or was it 5? No, I think it was 4 people away in a Mars-esque. Basically, it was an encampment that is meant to represent the conditions of life on Mars. It's a 1,700 foot, basically square foot facility. There's 4 of them. They have workstations. These people all volunteered for this, and they're going to be locked in there for 2 years.
I'll be darned.
To see the same type things. What's the impact on their physical, psychological, and all the different ways? Are they going to be able to continue to work? Are they going to be able to grow their own food? I mean, they have a door to the outside, but as soon as that door is open, the experiment
They're done.
is over.
A whole, like if one leaves, the whole thing's
It's
done.
all over because it breaks the seal.
Well, they can't have an airlock chamber.
Huh?
They could have had an airlock chamber.
Well, the point is, when you get to Mars, if you're in your encampment, you're in your encampment. There's no atmosphere there. You go outside, you're dead.
Do you remember
your spacesuit?
Do you remember reading about the biosphere? I think in Arizona, built several years ago. They did something similar, right?
And they didn't last. But like the first group that went in, it didn't last very long at all.
Maybe they had more than one group. I think the group lasted for a considerable amount of time, if I remember. I haven't read about this in years.
The
Been a long
last
time.
group had, if I'm mistaken, and I'll have to do some research, but I'm pretty sure you're right. The last group lasted a long time, and the exterior of the facility
degraded
or was breached or whether something happened to the exterior of that.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm thinking of Encino Man. I don't know.
One or the other for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, same type of deal. I'm glad there's people that's willing to be the guinea pigs, if you will, to test these things out. I just can't imagine what you're talking about is bad enough, but the woman 500 or 230 feet underground for 500 days by herself alone. I can't imagine.
At least these people have other people to talk to. You know, it's two dudes and two chicks.
It's
so
not 500 feet underground. You've got company.
And they have access to internet, and they're going to be working. They're not just going to be knitting hats for people's heads who don't really exist.
Just internet access would be huge.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be able to talk to people and keep up with news. And,
yeah. So, Biosphere 2, wow, is now open. It costs $200 million.
Holy moly. Who's paying for that?
I don't know. Probably us. We pay for everything else. There are going to be 8 people in an isolated. The experiment sealed 8 people in an isolated environment for 2 years. Let's see. In 1991, they locked. Wait, this is all confusing. I'm not reading this whole article, but it looks like everybody's happy, so I guess it worked out fine.
And if I remember correctly, the exterior walls were transparent. People would come and stand outside and watch them. And it was rather large.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were growing their own food. It was completely, supposedly, self-sustaining. So
it drew 650,000 people so far who paid $10 each. That's probably where they paid for it. Yeah. To be able to stand outside and watch them.
650,000 people at $10 is 6.5 million. Doesn't pay for the 200 million.
Okay, well, there you go. You missed your math. Biosphere 2 contains 3,800 varieties of plant and animal life, from bats to bush babies. Interesting.
If I were on the committee, I would have said, we could probably leave bats off.
Why?
Who the hell needs bats?
Well, you need them to control the insect population.
Okay.
Because you're going to release insects to be pollinators.
Sure. You need the insects. You don't need the freaking bats.
You need the
kill
bats
the bats
to kill the mosquitoes.
Slap them.
Oh my gosh! Bats are a good thing.
I have slapped and killed a lot of mosquitoes in my time. Do you know how many mosquitoes I have seen eaten by a bat? 0. My entire life.
Why would you be?
I hate bats.
I
hate the ideal bats.
Why?
Bats are
what is your
nasty,
problem with
disgusting
bats?
things. They're right up there with feet. Nasty, disgusting.
I think that you have a weird phobia of bats.
Pretty much. Who doesn't?
I don't. Bats are amazing.
Okay.
Do you like going
Spiders
outside?
are amazing compared to bats. Spiders, yeah. None of those creepy crawly things bothers me. Bats, no.
Why do bats bother you so much? Were you attacked as a child?
As far as I know, I've never. I have seen a few bats flying around late in the evening.
You do know I have bat houses in my fence line back here, right?
You have bat houses?
Yeah. To encourage them to be here.
I'm bringing over some dynamite. I'm blowing the shit out of those things.
You can't. They control the mosquito population.
If anyone knows the best way to get a hold of some TNT, please email. Once again, that is newsworthy with Steve and Jerry at gmail.com.
Well, bat houses are not very big. You could probably go to your local 4th of July store and get enough
fireworks
through there to take care of my
just
bats.
In case. Please send me your best suppliers.
Bats are good. They're good for the environment. They're great hunters. They're
really
cute. And I don't know why you're so
Crap.
anti-Baptist.
Baptist.
Yeah, you're Baptist. We're not going to be practicing Baptism on Newsworthy, Jerry.
Late for that. I think we already have. I think we already
You're cracking me up. And besides, down in Florida, they could really use some more bats. You know why?
Why is that?
They have the first outbreak of malaria in over 60 years in Florida because of stupid mosquitoes. Huh?
3 or 4 cases. Local. And one in Texas, maybe.
Mm-hmm. All spread by stupid mosquitoes, which bats eat by the thousands.
You know, you keep your bats.
Huh?
You keep your bats then.
I will. You keep your nasty mosquitoes.
I don't know if you can keep yours or not. These people let me know where to get some TNT. I'm blowing them up.
Mosquitoes have killed more humans than any other creature, including other humans, since time has begun.
I'll still take mosquitoes over bats.
Oh my gosh. Mochi wants to be a bat farmer. Hey, if you want to be a bat farmer, Mochi, I know a great location and some houses that are
a little citronella.
For
You can
sale.
get rid of those stupid mosquitoes. See, that's how easy mosquitoes are to get rid of. A couple citronella candles, you're good to go. How the hell you get rid of bats? No one knows. If people knew.
Okay, so recent studies show that
ago.
citronella now, mosquitoes are not stupid. If they smell citronella, they're actually attracted to it because that means food. Just so you know.
Well, apparently the ones in my vicinity are the retarded ones because it still runs them off.
It's just because you're so sweet, Jerry. You're so sweet.
That's what runs them off?
No, that's what attracts them.
Oh, well.
You said they're
retarded. Not sweet. They stay away.
So, I'll let you go to your next story. I got my next story lined up and ready to go, but I want you to talk.
Why, you just love to hear my sexy voice? Is that what you're trying to
I do. That's exactly it. I
figured.
Oh, I'm swooning.
Really?
No.
You're going to have to take another get in line for that. I'm sure you've heard about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg's cage fight, right?
Yeah, bring it.
Bring it. Yeah. A few weeks ago.
Team Elon.
King Elon.
Team Elon.
Team Elon.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. I think I don't know.
Zuckerberg looks like Lieutenant Commander Data. I think he's like a drone.
He's 5'7" and weighs 145 pounds.
Wow.
I know that because I was reading one article that I read for this, had the tail of the tape. You know, when two guys are fighting, they have the tail of the tape where they give their stats. Elon Musk is 7 inches taller. He's 6'2". Zuckerberg is 5'7". Elon Musk weighs, they guess, at around 230 pounds. Zuckerberg 145. So yeah, it's a no-brainer when you look at the stats. But anyway, I don't know why I got off on that. I'm getting way ahead of myself. A few weeks ago, this all started when Elon Musk challenged Mark Zuckerberg to a cage fight. And to which Zuckerberg replied and said, "Send me the location." Now, this all came about because that Meta, which is owned by Zuckerberg, owns Facebook and Instagram. And it became public that Instagram was considering its own version of Twitter, widely reported to be an Instagram spinoff called Threads. And when Elon Musk found out about it, he supposedly was, at least publicly, it tried to appear irate. And he and Zuckerberg get along quite well. They really have no hard feelings between them. But that was when he had challenged Zuckerberg to a cage fight. And of course, as we said, Zuckerberg's response was, "Send me the location." And not much was, or I hadn't heard much of it in the last week or so. And then this week, Dana White got involved. Dana White, president of the UFC. He announced that he had spoken to both of them, and he said that they are absolutely, I quote, he said they are absolutely dead serious about this. Dana White also added that the fight would break the revenue and viewership of the 2017 boxing spectacle between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And that one had over 50 million people watching live in the United States alone. Zuckerberg will very likely be quite confident, mainly because, again, he's severely undersized. He's much shorter. He doesn't, he's given up close to 100 pounds,
He's
but
an android.
he works out quite regularly. He also routinely trains with a jiu-jitsu team. Elon Musk has previously admitted numerous times that he rarely works out. He has said that his biggest form of exercise is when he's throwing his kids up in the air. So
That's better than
knows?
us, who's throwing back a cold beer
Yeah.
in the air.
yeah, I thought about exercising, but rolled over on the couch and had another beer instead.
Yeah, well, I love to run. Just so you know, and the audience at home knows,
To the fridge for another beer.
I run to the fridge and I run away from bears.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yep. As you once told me, you don't need to outrun the bear. You just need to outrun me if I'm with you.
That's right, 100%. And I can do that because I'll trip you. I have no mercy. I have no qualms with that whatsoever.
So, having said everything with Zuckerberg training, with his jiu-jitsu team and all that, you still Team Musk?
Team Elon.
There you go. He certainly got, anytime you outweigh your opponent by 100 pounds,
You
have
can
a
just
huge
squash
physical
them. I used to do
advantage.
this with the kids on the trampoline all the time. And when you're wrestling, I was a professional wrestler.
Yep.
So what you would do, anytime you see a couple of dudes wrestling and they go to the mat with a wrestling hold, so it's a headlock and they're laying on the mat, it's not about the headlock. It's about the fact that they both need a breather. And they are sucking wind right there. That's what they're doing. And I was often on the mat sucking wind.
Well, you weren't in it that long, so being the new guy, I'm sure you had to be the one laying on the mat the majority of the time.
Oh yeah, you have to earn your stripes. You have to, if you go into a facility and as a rookie and what they call a greenhorn, and you're getting a bunch of wins, two things: you're either a physical freak that they want to push really hard because they think that it's going to make them dollars, which isn't safe. Okay, just bluntly, it's not safe to push a greenhorn like that. Not for him or the people he's wrestling. Or you're an absolutely phenomenal athlete who has some experience wrestling or gymnastics, tumbling, something of that you can be safe and do that.
Yeah.
But most of the time when you're in professional wrestling and you are very, very, very raw, very green, you're only wrestling the most experienced wrestlers. You're only wrestling people who work well with greenhorns. And your match is going to be very, very uncomplicated. Go in, get beat up, go home. that's what it comes down to.
To answer one of the most common questions I would guess that our audience has, tell us how scripted professional wrestling is.
Well, okay, that's a good question. So we're not in kayfabe here. So what kayfabe is just means that what happens in wrestling is wrestling. Okay, it's what all the old school people, back Saturday morning cartoon or Saturday morning wrestling and all that was very. Those guys back then were in character regardless. Okay, so think Nikolai Volkov, the Russian, or the Iron Sheik, or any of those back in the Rock and Roll Express. If you met them at Walmart, they were in character. Okay, that's kayfabe. But to answer your question, scripted. So the booker controls he is the storyteller of wrestling. Okay, he's the guy that runs the back room. So you're going to see your match, you're going to see who you're wrestling against, and you're going to see who goes over, who gets the win. That's where the scripting ends. How the match looks, what the match is strictly between the two wrestlers in the match.
But how much of that is normally scripted ahead of time?
In the match, you might have a couple of sets, or as
So it's usually done in the moment.
You have two schools of thought. You have and it's based on experience. You have the people that call every set. We're going to do this. I'm going to hit you headlock, throw you into the ropes. You're going to come out. I'm going to hit you clothesline, and then I'm going to drop an elbow on you while you're down. and then you're going to get up and you're going to do this, this, and this, and they've called the whole match.
That'd be hard to remember that.
It is hard to remember, and most of those guys are not put with greenhorns. Most of those guys are wrestling other guys at the same experience level because it is very difficult. Because you're thinking of a 3 to 5 minute match in the ring. That's a lot of action.
A lot of moves.
That's a lot of moves. I remember this one guy, and I'm not going to mention names because I'm going to call him a dick because he was, pardon my French. He was put in the match with me in a tag team situation. So there was 3 tag teams in this match. And I was the rookie, the greenhorn, so I was the one going to get beat up the most. That's just the way it works. That's part of earning your stripes. I get that. But about 3/4 of the way through the match, I'd done really good. I missed one move set and made him miss a punch. I ducked under. So when the guy I was wrestling, which was this guy's partner, finally, caught me and threw me down, this guy was out there, beat his ass, kill him, stupid MFer. And I'm like, what? Because I missed one move, and then I was able to make it correct and make it look even better than what they had scripted. But people like that, I can't stand them.
Yeah.
And then you have the people who are experienced that do wrestle greenhorns that do it based on crowd reaction, because that's why we're there. Okay, yep. We're not there to make people don't. They're there to be entertained. They're there to be part of the action. They're there to scream and holler and, to release the weak. Okay. So the really good wrestlers, even on the indie circuit, those guys know how to read the crowd and work the crowd. The one guy I wrestled the most in very early career, and you can actually see some of our videos. I'm not going to tell you where. They were horrible. I was so bad. I mean, because he videotaped every match. And mine were like my first, second, third, and fourth matches. You got better, you get better every time. But he was so good at reading the crowd. Like, if the crowd was really chanting my name because I was the baby face or the good guy, then he would make sure he'd pick me up and say, throw me in the rope and hit me with the clothesline. And I would do that, boom, hit him with the clothesline, and he'd sell it real good. The crowd would go crazy. And just as soon as I did it, I was, cheering, getting the crowd into it. I'd turn around and boom, he'd nail me right in the face, and then he'd get boos. And it was all about the crowd and getting them into it. Those are your really good indie wrestlers. And I had a blast working with those guys. I worked with several. You also hear the term stiff or smooth. Most of the guys that work with greenhorns are very smooth. They're very, I'm not going to hurt you in this match. Stiff wrestlers, they don't care if they hurt you. If they hit you really hard with a clothesline and give you a concussion, they don't care because you're the greenhorn and they're whoever they are.
Yeah.
So most good bookers will keep those two separated.
Thank goodness. Huh?
Yeah. But I loved it, man. There is reason that people like Hulk Hogan, who would probably still be wrestling today if he physically could. Man's had 30-some back operations. He can barely walk.
He's old now.
He's getting ready to turn 70. Turn 70, I think, next month.
Okay.
Built still, could still sell out a house the way he's built. But there's a reason that wrestlers like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, and they wrestle till their bodies just can't. It's so addictive to be behind the curtain and your music hit and the fans know it's your music and they start cheering your name. That is so addictive. It's crazy. I very much enjoyed I think I did it overall about 6 years. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yep.
So anyway, let's hear from Ed Locke, shall we?
Sounds good.
Woohoo!
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Buying your first home can be overwhelming, but here are 5 tips to make the process go smoother. Number 1, find a lender, me, Ed Locke, that can answer any questions you might have and help you get pre-approved. There are multiple options available based on your situation. Number 2, work with a real estate agent you can trust. Number 3, don't rush the process. Take your time and know that the process could take some time. Number 4, consider all the costs. Number 5, get a home inspection and review it with your realtor. Keep these tips in mind, budget for yourself, and you'll be that much closer to making your dream of homeownership a reality. So reach out to me at 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity.
Yeah. So back real quick to the wrestling thing.
Mhm.
That is a huge industry.
Yep.
But we talk sometimes. I think we talked before about the percentage of the population that ever get to be big time in that. It's the same with wrestling. You have to be you either have to be the most athletic or the biggest, baddest dude on the planet to ever get big time. I mean, it's just
Something. You have to have
you
something.
you have to have it,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Randy Macho Man, what would you say his it was?
Oh,
Randy Savage.
willingness to do anything. He was crazy.
Because he wasn't the biggest, baddest, toughest.
No, but
He was a little guy.
yeah, and that's back when they actually, before steroids became a huge thing in the ring. Average sized dudes could do it and make it look good. But now in wrestling, you have so much of it's all big and showy. Never the whole '80s genre, early '90s wrestling, that was all steroid fueled. I mean, that was huge, bigger, better. There's a meme going around: Vince McMahon like big sweaty men for a reason.
Do they test for steroids?
They
now?
do now, absolutely.
They just as a safety precaution, I'm sure.
Well, two things. Safety is one of them. If you don't die, Jerry. um, Safety's one. You don't want to. I mean, wrestlers to the ownership are like a stable. You don't want to jack up your horse and send him out there and so he gets hurt. Because Randy Orton, as an example, was a huge money draw. He's been out because of a back injury for almost a year. You don't ever want that to be the case. So, and more importantly, you don't want to have the Chris Benoit thing. If you remember hearing about that several years ago, in a fit of roid rage, killed his family, killed himself.
But the reason I asked was in a lot of sports, baseball, whatever, they're testing for steroids with the assumption being that it's giving you an unfair advantage. I don't think that's the reason that they're doing it in wrestling.
No,
I think it's
they're
safety.
doing it to say it's safety and it's to keep their
People,
investments safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
The
Chris Benoit thing changed everything in wrestling. Up until that point, it was as much as you wanted, as much as you could get. Yeah, we're going to test you, but we're going to wink and nod 6 months before we test you to make sure you piss clean.
Especially in wrestling, because I'm sure what steroids led to, those buff looks, helped sell the sport.
Oh, sure.
So they probably weren't the first one by any means to get on board with, we've got to make sure our guys are safe and not killing themselves doing this.
And unfortunately, in wrestling, it's just like any other sport. The products change so rapidly. What they're testing for now, sometimes they haven't used in 10 years because they're on to HGH and the next thing, and then the thing after that. So it's like anything else. The testing is always slow to catch up with whatever the next thing is. Barry Bonds, good example. He was using, and Mark McGuire, they both admitted to, I don't know if Barry Bonds ever did, but Mark McGuire said I was on HGH. They weren't testing for it at the time. That's why he never popped a steroid test. It was just
everyone knew they both were though.
Oh yeah. You don't get bigger and your stats increase after you hit 40. That just doesn't happen. Period. Anywho, speaking of sports, how about my next topic?
What do you got for us?
Would you say that the NFL is in bed with sports books? I mean, you literally, I wonder how much money the NFL makes in kickbacks alone from places that allow sports betting.
Kickbacks? I don't know what you mean.
Well, I'm sure that they benefit financially in some respects because those sports books use their likeness. They use their anytime you use the NFL's likeness or use their name, you have to pay for that.
Sure, but that's not a kickback.
Yeah,
That's just a contract.
sure.
So if you're talking about a true kickback from organized gambling, I would hope that's not there.
Okay, well, they get paid to allow them to use their name.
Well, they get paid for selling their logo, from all around the world to a ton of people in a ton of places.
Yep.
Uh,
So the whole question I'm bringing up very, very soon, and the words come out that there's going to be Isaiah Rodgers from the Indianapolis Colts is one. Several other players are looking at year-long suspensions this year for betting on the game of football.
really, hadn't
Yeah.
heard this.
Yeah, and I have two or three questions
Okay.
about this. A, is the NFL making money off of the same type
No.
of
No.
see? And the NFL has very specific rules. So these guys are guilty of the Pete Rose bet.
Yep.
They're betting on the NFL. So they're going to get a year-long suspension for this.
Which I don't see why. If as long as you're not betting against your own team, I think betting should be illegal. I understand some people say you shouldn't be allowed to bet on your own team. As long as you're betting for your team, that's
you're only
what
going
you're
to help
hired
yourself
to do.
win.
Yeah. Some people say, well, they'll try harder. Really? You have a multi-million, sometimes $100 million contract. If that doesn't entice you to try as hard as you freaking, how does a possible $100,000, $1 million bet
Yeah.
increase your incentive to want to win?
Yeah.
So to me, the only time this should ever be illegal is if you're betting against your team. Now you have a financial incentive to lose.
Yeah.
To shave points, whatever, not necessarily lose, but to maybe not win.
Same could be said for you NFL owners and coaches that tank to get a better draft pick.
Absolutely. So I've never understood, whether it's Pete Rose or NFL, I've never understood why it's wrong to bet on your sport or even your own team, as long as you aren't betting against your own team.
Well, I think it goes to show a totally different flaw in the NFL. Now, when you join the NFL and you're in the first round, part of accessing your first monies is you have to attend a small class about how to manage your money.
Right.
But one of these guys, and it's an unnamed player, they don't name him, lost over $8 million in 2022 alone. Betting. So, I kind of get it. But these are people that are going to have that flaw whether they're playing in the NFL or not.
That number is almost meaningless unless you tell me who it is, what their net worth is, what their annual salary is, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I remember reading an article way back when about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
He was known for betting on golf games.
Anything.
He may have bet on the NBA, but I never heard that he was accused of that. But he was known for betting huge amounts of money on golf. He would go play a round of golf with someone and bet $1 million.
Yeah.
And I remember reading articles saying this guy has a huge problem. This guy's addicted. I'm like, are you kidding? That's no different for him than you and I saying, hey, I'll bet you an ice cream cone.
Right.
It's not. It's with the amount of money this man has, $1 million is nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's chump change. So you're getting on him because he's competitive, because he wants to win, because he's, betting $1 million.
You can spend an afternoon just laughing at how many different ways Michael Jordan has bet people in his life.
He'd bet on anything.
Anything.
I remember Charles Barkley talking about, if I remember right, he said, if you were out in the field and he saw two birds land on a fence, he'll bet you on which bird's going to take off first, and he'll let you pick your bird.
Yep. I would. Is there any question, real quick, while we're on Michael Jordan, any question that he's the GOAT?
No, not to me.
Not to me either.
Not to me.
You can talk LeBron all you want to. I don't think there's.
He's got to put several more rings on his finger before he can compete with Jordan.
Hey,
Jordan was 6-0.
Sean is here. Hey, man. Glad you're here.
Jordan was 6-0 in championships. So
Same team. Didn't matter who was playing with him.
6-0, and that's what is LeBron 3-3, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
So he can win 6. He can never be 6-0. He can never be undefeated in the finals.
I think for me, it come down to what sealed the deal for me and Michael Jordan was the flu game. Literally getting fluids on the bench, and still pops 50 points. Was it 50 points? 80 points? Remember. It was some crazy.
It wasn't 80. I don't think he ever got 80.
It was some crazy amount of points.
The thing for me was the number of times he hit the game-winning shot.
Yeah.
In big-time situations.
Yeah.
Not in game 32 out of the 82-game year-long series, but in a deciding playoff series, whether it's game 5, 6, or 7. He would hit the game-winning shot to end the series, and he just did it time after time after time.
Ice water.
Yeah, and James is not known for that at all. He's hit a couple, but he's been in a ton of them where he'll pass in a heartbeat. Yep. A lot of times he didn't even want a team to take the shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got a lot of grief about 3 playoff series ago for that.
Yep.
Because he always passed whenever they needed a basket. I think it's funny that Michael Jordan always wore his North Carolina shorts under his Bulls jersey. Really hurt my heart he didn't come to Kentucky. Whatever.
He was from North Carolina, wasn't he?
Yes. So anyway, that was my thing. It really, they're going to, the rules of the NFL sometimes are a bit overbearing. And on the field, they're a bit overbearing. Off the field, they're a bit overbearing. I understand, I can relate and understand somewhat, but while you've got these guys suspended for a year, are you going to put them through counseling? Are you going to have them, what are you having them do? Sit over on the sideline, or are they allowed to work out? They're not allowed to work out with their team.
The only reason that they will suspend these guys is to protect the brand. They're trying to protect the name, so they care about these guys. They're not going to do any of that. Now, if it happens consistently and the people begin to write articles about, what is the NFL doing to help these guys? Then they'll start some of that. But until then, the only thing they're doing is trying to say we don't put up with this.
The part I really find hypocritical.
What's that?
I don't think, now I may be wrong, I don't think that if Aaron Rodgers was one of these guys, he's going to be suspended for a year. Or Patrick Mahomes was one of these guys, he's going to be suspended.
Don't you think they've gone too far in protecting quarterbacks?
Yeah, a little bit.
I do. I understand they're important to the game. I understand that when Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and, some unknown backup comes off the bench, that no one cares about the team. I get all that. But they're one player on a team of, how many's on the NFL team? What's the roster?
53 is final roster.
1 of 53. Come on. They treat them more like they're, one of 2.
Yeah. No, I agree.
As much as the rest of the team.
I think it speaks volumes to teams and how well they build their teams. First of all, here's the situation, kind of what you're talking about. Deshaun Watson makes $230 million in Cleveland. Guess what they don't have money for? A good backup quarterback.
They paid him $230 million? Deshaun Watson? He hadn't even played in, a year and a half, 2 years?
Well, he played last year and wasn't very good.
Before.
Yeah, it was out for a year and a half. $230 million, and most of that, if not all, was guaranteed money. Like, just might as well write him a check before it even starts. But they don't, by doing that, no money for a backup. So I think it almost, if you there's some rules I agree with. If you're coming blindside and the ability to hit a quarterback from the blind side, he has no protection. Once his lineman has let the defender Aaron Donald come through, you have to protect the quarterback at that, because Aaron Donald is I know 3 large men, and Aaron Donald is 2 of them. Okay, huge, and he could hurt somebody hitting him from the blind side without any knowledge of him coming. You have to protect him in that. It's kind of like they do for the punters and the kickers. They're completely exposed. But if you're scrambling, you see a guy and you're not allowed to hit him, That's kind of stupid. But I think it goes toward building your team, building an offensive line, protecting your. I mean, now that the quarterback is so protected, you don't have to spend as much money on the offensive line. So,
Yep.
I don't know. What's your next topic, Mr. Jerry?
A painting.
A painting. Oh.
A painting of pizza.
Oh. I thought you were going to say my pretty face.
A painting discovered in the ruins of Pompeii, Italy, shows how ancient pizza may have looked.
Oh.
Pompeii was destroyed by a volcano almost 2,000 years ago.
So they had stone-fired pizza there?
Well, they have no idea what kind of pizza they had. What they do have is they have
Just didn't even
discovered
get my joke.
No, I got your joke. It's just not very good. It's kind of like your dad jokes.
Oh!
Must come from the same book.
My heart is so crushed.
They found a painting on a wall of a building that they're excavating. It's an atrium of a house that's adjacent to a bakery. And I'll show you a picture of it here in a minute. But their pizza then apparently was quite different. No tomato sauce, no mozzarella cheese, no pepperoni. What it did have apparently was spices and dried fruit. Here's a picture of the mural on the wall of the pizza.
It looks like a dessert
2,000
pizza
years
at the Pizza
ago.
Inn.
Say what?
It looks like a dessert pizza from
Kinda.
the Pizza Inn.
Would be more resembling of that.
I'll take my pepperoni, thanks very much.
In the mural is a silver platter, and the platter is bearing a cup of wine, some pomegranates, figs, a garland of yellow strawberry tree fruits, whatever the hell that is, and the pizza. Amazing. Pizza, 2,000 year old, but still in Italy.
Well, I don't even like Italian pizza. I like American pizza.
No,
Sauce,
you don't like
melty cheese,
thin crust,
pepperoni, just so much cheese when you
no
pull it apart.
sausage.
I like
No regular crust. No Chicago
deep
crust.
That's nasty.
Why do you think regular crust is nasty?
I can tolerate regular. I don't like pan or anything thicker.
I don't
than
think
pan.
I've ever in my life saw you eat anything but thin crust pizza.
I'll eat a hand tossed.
No, I've never saw that.
Oh well. Next Wednesday we'll have pizza. I'll show you.
I remember when we went to the Pacers game a few years ago. We stopped. What's the name of that pizza place we stopped?
Uno's.
Was it Uno's?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was that Chicago style pizza. And that was nasty.
No, you got the thin crust. We got two pizzas. You got the thin crust.
Yeah, and I tried.
And, what was Nick's friend's name? He and I,
Josiah.
Yeah, Josiah. Josiah and I had the hand tossed.
Yeah,
which was good.
That was nasty.
That was good.
It looked so bad. It was nasty.
Yeah.
Who put sauce on top of their pizza?
Sauce?
Yeah.
Like everyone?
Oh, not on top. Not on top of the cheese. Come on now.
Ours didn't have sauce on top
Yeah,
of the
it
cheese.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it didn't.
It did.
No.
Look up a picture of Uno's pizza. Sauce is on top of the cheese. Anyway.
Uno pizza.
Listen.
Chicago Uno. That's an
I got one more topic, and I got to get
What do you
to
got
it.
for us?
Hey, Double's here. Woohoo.
Welcome, Double.
Welcome, Double. We're so glad you're here.
Hear us talk about pizza.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. And this is going to sound really bad. Okay. And I am done apologizing for how it sounds. I'm sorry. That's my last apology. People of Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's got nasty on top of it.
Where? Where's the sauce on that?
It looks nasty.
The toppings on top of that.
Whatever.
That's good pizza. See that crust? That's good stuff.
It
I'm going
looks-
to put a picture of this on the...
Okay. You do that. You show them that nasty pizza.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. Go
No,
ahead.
you're good. So I want to know if you live in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of listeners in Pennsylvania. Do you feel like you're being heard in Washington with John Fetterman?
Does any person anywhere in the country
No.
feel like they're being heard,
No, I get that.
regardless of who their
Have you-
senators are?
Have you heard? Did you see? I guess this is the better way of saying it. They have a bridge on I-95 in Philly that is getting ready to be replaced as part of some federal budgeting thing.
Okay.
Fetterman and Biden were there, and I have never heard such gibberish in one press conference in my whole life. First of all, Fetterman was in his official capacity once again wearing a hoodie and gym shorts.
He's known for being
ridiculous,
wearing dress like that.
Ridiculous.
He showed up to the Capitol
dressed like that.
Yes.
Ridiculous. I'm sorry. If you can't dress appropriately, you can't come to Congress. I'm sorry.
I don't think he was trying to walk into Congress. He was going in the building to go to his private office where he changed before he went to the floor. But he was walking into one of the congressional buildings.
Yeah, crazy.
I thought it was a little inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other one, I haven't saw this one. I'm sure it's no better.
Oh, this video is terrible. I mean, just to hear him try to string together enough sentences to introduce the president was horrid. As a result of all of this, according to a Quinnipiac poll, which is kind of middle of the road, they're not very left, they're not very right.
Yeah. Which, if you're polling, I mean,
that's
if you're not
independent,
then you shouldn't even be
right
allowed to do it.
Well, this is I say that because it's not a Fox News poll. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
He only has a 39% approval rate. Joe Biden only has a 57 in Pennsylvania. He has a 39% approval rating. Joe Biden has a 57% approval rating.
Really?
Yeah,
that's got to be one of the highest of any states. And what's his overall for Biden?
Let me.
It's about 39.
Sorry, 39 is what John Fetterman's is. Joe Biden has a worse approval rating in the state. 57% disapprove of his handling as president. 39% approve.
Okay.
I am sick of the excuses being put out for John Fetterman. If you cannot do the job, if you cannot act the part, then you don't need the part. You don't need the job. And I don't even live in Pennsylvania. If I lived in Pennsylvania, I would be begging for a recall. It is.
That's probably, I'm guessing, pretty hard to do.
I can't imagine why it is. I mean,
really, I think it should be extremely hard to do. I'm not saying he doesn't meet that criteria. I'm just saying to recall a elected politician should be pretty freaking hard to do.
He's a senator, though. 6 years. You're going to have him.
Still should be hard to do. Remember when I was talking about what's that dumbass from New York, that lying dude?
Oh, Santos.
Yeah. Remember when I was talking about him? Yeah. I don't even think they have a right to kick him out.
Well, he's a congressman, but even if not, you don't kick him out. You have the right to censure, and I think
censure. I agree with that.
I think that this is I'm talking about him not being able to speak, and I can't speak. This is a situation where a censure vote is a good vote. I just can't imagine as a representative or a person who lives in Pennsylvania, I can't wait to vote him out of office so he can go home and heal and be well and hopefully get the treatments that
he had the stroke during the
campaign. Yeah. I just can't imagine, given to where he is now in his recovery from the stroke. I'm not discounting the stroke. I know John Fetterman didn't speak like this before the stroke, but we have to take real world accounts into, would you want John Fetterman to be able to be the deciding vote if we went to war? I wouldn't feel comfortable with that at all.
To be honest with you, I've not heard any of his talk. I don't know.
Please look it up on YouTube.
Any of it.
Please.
Literally none. I saw a few things about how he dresses and some of that controversy. I've not heard anything about the way he talks, so it wouldn't be fair for me to answer that.
As soon as we get off air, I want you to look this up because he speaks more gibberish than the president, honestly. Also, on the topic of the president, real fast, there was an article that came out and was talking about the lines on his face. Folks, those are CPAP machine lines. He is not being restrained against his will. I'm not the fan. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. In fact, I'm wearing my handy dandy. You want to read it for the crowd?
I identify as non-binary. The shirt that he mentioned a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was a free shirt if you made a $1 donation to, what's the guy's name?
I don't remember.
It's one of the Republicans that was trying to meet the threshold. You had to get, I think, 40,000.
1%, 40,000.
Yeah, you had to get 1% in some poll, and you had to get 40,000 donors. And
Individual
he come up
donors.
with individual donors, and he come up with what I thought was a brilliant idea of offering, if you donated $1,
Yep.
that he would give you a T-shirt and
I
mail
got
it to
one.
you. And yeah, for those of you that listen, you heard Steve talking about it, and he is now wearing it.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily like the person. I do like. I want to hear his plan. He's got the 2 cent plan. I want to hear it. I want to hear the other candidates talk about it. I want to hear what their plan is involved with reducing our deficit, because I think in my heart of hearts, that's our number one issue facing America today, especially facing our children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. So if he's talking about the deficit, I'm in. Let's get him on stage. So I gave him $5. I didn't get 5 shirts, but I did give him $5. But yeah, that was my last thing. I feel really bad for John Fetterman. I feel like he's in a position that he really fought for and earned. He won the election, but due to his health, he really, really can't fulfill the needs of the office.
We probably should have some type of test. You and I have talked about what is Joe Biden's mental acuity at. We should probably have some type of test for
according to Bill O'Reilly. And Bill O'Reilly is conservative, but he tries to play it down the middle. I really believe that. He was talking the other day on the. Okay, I'll show you guys. I'll get Jerry to post a pic on the website of the shirt. But he was talking about how when Ronald Reagan got shot in the assassination attempt, how Nancy took over as far as, he had, if you wanted to see Ronnie, you had to go through Mama, and Mama was Nancy. Regardless if you were the Speaker of the House, you were an assistant to the president, you wanted to see Ronnie, you went through her. And even after he recovered, it stayed that way. And he had a source, back to Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly has a source that says that Joe Biden is very much the same way. Jill approves everything that he talks, every personal person he speaks with, every event that he goes to, it has to clear Jill Biden to make that happen. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's part of the getting older and the aging and the recovery and the healing thing. But it definitely, there's Mona out there barking. She's wanting to go outside. But, I really believe that if there were some kind of test, like you're saying, I'm torn. Because if you take the test and you fail, then the question is, well, what point did you become where you would fail the test, and how much damage have you done or dumb stuff have you done since, in between having to take the test and when we all realized, hey, you should take a test.
So it's better to just not have the test and let them continue to screw up more and more?
No, I don't agree with that either. I just don't know what the answer is.
It's not an easy answer, and it would be subject to umpteen lawsuits.
It's kind of like the conversation you have to have at some point with your parents about when it's time to hand over the keys. You know what I mean?
Guess what?
The difference is
there is some conversations that have to be had,
right?
But the law has stepped in and said, we're going to have some tests that you have to pass some eyesight tests, right? Which is one of the first things that old people typically probably have trouble passing if they're going to continue to drive. So the law has stepped in and said, we'll help you. We'll take
sort of.
We will. Well, you got to pass the test.
Well, here's my sort of. the new Real ID here in Kentucky is good for 8 years. A lot can happen in 8 years. You know what
The
I'm saying?
old one was 8 years.
4.
No.
The old
You-
driver's license was 4 years.
No,
Oh,
listen. You only had to get your eyesight tested every
Every
other time.
Yeah, you're right.
So that Real ID hasn't changed how often they're going to test
Okay.
eyesight.
8
8
years
years
is still-
before, 8 years now. That's a long time.
Yeah, it
A
really
lot
is.
can happen. At least it's something
That's true.
for our leaders of our country. The
Who-
president of the United States, there's nothing.
Who this whole week has been a gaff machine. Every step of
I don't
the
even
way.
have a
this-
problem with being a gaff machine.
No,
Because,
he
well,
literally.
hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
He will have to go a long way to pass George W. on the gaff machine hierarchy.
George W. never, and I'm using air quotes, admitting to giving away and selling state secrets.
Neither did Biden.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Literally in
Literally,
a
go
conversation.
watch.
I watched the video.
You know what you watched? You watched the video that the Republican Party come out with, which is
And it was a big joke. I get
no.
it.
Their video didn't say that. The true video, the next words out of his mouth. Okay, now in all seriousness,
Still.
it was a joke. So he didn't admit to squat. He told a joke.
Okay.
You went on air on the podcast and you accused him of something that you and I make fun of the media of doing,
Well,
and that's plain. That's offering a distorted view.
okay, you're fair enough. I didn't
Steve,
see
that's
the
not
full
even-
video. I'm sorry.
Dude.
I missed the full video. I'll start getting all my videos from CNN. Sorry.
Dude, I'm just telling you. If you had heard that, and if he did what you just alleged, it would have been all over every news channel everywhere. Where did you hear it?
I don't remember. Probably it was
probably
on.
on Fox News
Dude,
because
how-
they're the ones
how
that
many-
are releasing this edited video. I mean, this has been all over the news. Of everyone else is making fun of them
Okay.
for offering slanted half.
Okay.
This is the same thing that Russia did.
Real
a couple
quickly,
of weeks ago.
I just want to state for the fact one more time, I don't watch Fox News. I get 98% of my news from Microsoft Bing.
You didn't get this from Microsoft Bing.
I'm just saying. I didn't watch much of Fox when Tucker was there. When Tucker left, I haven't watched Fox News since. So just saying.
Mainstream news is not telling the story you just told.
Okay. Well, and that's what it's on. That's literally where I get my
Guys,
news.
look it up. Here's
I
the
will.
deal. This happened the other day during a meeting with the India Prime Minister
Mhm.
in Washington, D.C. And Biden come out and gave a talk, and he began, the very beginning of it, he told a joke. And the joke was that he and, forget the guy's name, they got together, Biden says, and I sold a bunch of state secrets. Crowd laughs, and he says, okay, now, in all seriousness, if that's not as plain as it can possibly be that you are telling a joke.
It's just
I don't
not something
know.
you should probably joke about. Just saying.
Really?
I don't think.
Do you know what else we shouldn't do? We
What's
shouldn't
that?
report news stories when we have heard slanted one-side edited
I
video.
understand. And I have
Especially-
apologized for that.
especially
Would you
when
like me to
we-
write a letter?
Especially when you and I critique the media for being so bad at doing just that.
I'm trying to figure out where I found the video. Because it wasn't Fox News. I don't watch
Well,
Fox News.
they didn't have
so-
the video. It was the Republican Party that released this edited video.
I don't
But only
know.
the right-wing sources, such as Fox News, were the only ones that I'd heard that released that.
Yeah. Well, okay. There we go.
But here's my point: how could you not look at that and decide that before you talk about it, it needs 2 seconds of fact checking? You're talking about a president who committed treason. You're talking about a president who's done far worse than what Donald Trump's ever been accused
I
of.
never said that he actually sold secrets.
You just
that
said-
wasn't what I was implying.
Okay. Whether he sold it or gave it away.
Either way, I never said that that was what he had actually done.
You said that he admitted to doing it.
No, I was saying it from a context point of view that he was confused. I never said that he actually went back there and sold secrets.
You said that he admitted to giving away state secrets.
No, in a matter of context from him speaking poorly. Not that he actually sold secrets and then flubbed that he told everybody that he done
You
it.
exactly said that. You said
Well,
he
that's
admitted
not what
it.
I meant. I apologize. That is not what I meant. All
Anyway.
right. Huh?
Said anyway.
Anyway.
Sorry for getting on you so hard, but that's something you and I have talked a lot about the
Is what
media
it
and how
is.
bad they
I'll
are.
just start to make sure I get all of my news from a different source because apparently Microsoft is not the place
Dude,
to go.
Microsoft did not have that news. I'm just telling you. Microsoft didn't release that video. They
What
may have
about-
released that someone did that.
I should have probably brought up the train that we are going to build across the Indian Ocean. That would have probably been better because he did say that
That
in its entirety.
would be
From
pretty newsworthy.
So, anyway, well, guys, that's our show for the day. If you can't see the light,
Be the light.
have a great night.